Welcome to your Spiritual Besties podcast. I'm Lauren Ledoux.
And I'm Rashida McCoy. We're here to laugh, cry, learn, and connect with you.
We discuss anything and everything from our everyday lives to the magical, mystical, and woo-woo.
So take a deep breath, grab a cup of tea,
and set an intention to receive, because you deserve it, bestie. Happy February!
Woohoo!
February!
We're here.
We're here. I have to say that I'm going to decide to be excited for February this year, because usually where I live in Kansas City, this is the time of year where everybody just wants to get the F out of here.
Is it because it's so cold?
Yeah, it's cold and it's like, okay, winter, it's still going. The holidays are done. Like there's no twinkly lights. It's just straight up winter. Give you the sunshine.
In Virginia, you never know, especially in my neck of the woods. Like one day it could be like 20 degrees and there's like frozen ice. And then 2 days later, it's like 70 and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell? So make up your mind. But we get off seasons here and it's lovely and great. But winter is just kind of like, it happens a couple days and then it's done. And then it happens again a couple of days and then it's done. So
yeah, it can sputter and start here too, especially in the last few years. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I've always kind of like dreaded February or even hated it, shall I say. Especially when I lived in Chicago, because that was like so bitter cold.
Oh, thank you.
But I have to say, like, the more I learn about like more natural traditions and like earth-based traditions, the more I come to like respect these changes in the seasons and in weather. Similarly to how like I used to dread and hate my menstrual cycle or like my period, and the more I've learned about it and like tuned into the nature of it and the energy of it, the more I respect and embrace it. So I wanted to say happy Imbolc. So February 2nd, when the sun goes down, to February 3rd, when the sun comes up, is Imbolc, also known as Bridget. And it's a like Celtic or Gaelic observance of midwinter. So we're kind of smack in the middle of winter and spring. I will say if you live in a warmer area like California, it marks like the beginning of spring because there are like some bulbs and things that start coming up at this time. That's not the case where I live. It's still very much winter. It's also where like it's where like Groundhog Day originally came from, because weather divination is a part of Imbolc. So it actually originated with snakes. Whether or not a snake could see its shadow would like determine if there are 6 more weeks of winter. So that's kind of interesting. It's also a time to kind of look ahead at your future harvest. So it's when we start like gathering seeds to plant and planning out like the farming or the agriculture or gardens. On an energetic level, it's kind of looking at maybe the intentions that we set for the year and reaffirming that. The goddess that is associated with Imbolc is Bridget, and she's a goddess of fertility and of fire. And so we can kind of energetically go back to that, like that fertile feeling, like what are we starting? What seeds are we planting and watering? She's also the goddess of fire. So it's a good time to do like fire ritual, similar to how you do like in the winter solstice. So I think what I might do is like, if it's okay outside, I'll light a fire and go back to like the magic and the intentions that I'm setting for the year, and do like a manifesting ritual. And if a fire doesn't work out, like a candle inside will be just fine. So those are some things that I know about Imbolc. I'll say I didn't grow up with it or anything like that, even though it is tied to my lineage. But I like relearning about all of these different nature-based traditions so that we can embrace all these different parts of the season. So I'd love to know, Rashida, I know we talked about having like words of the year. Do you have like a word of the year that you can reaffirm at this time?
Yeah, so my word of the year is, well, I have two, but my main word is intention.
Mm,
And I feel like intention can speak to many facets of what I am trying to accomplish or manifest in my life. More intentional time with the family, really putting attention behind the things that I do and how I want my life to like kind of unfold in front of me. Intention is just one of those things, like it is a game changer when you learn to stop like going through the motions and really like be intentional with your life. And I am trying so hard to like, and not so hard, not so hard, but I am just trying to be intentional about the things that I do going forward because I had been in this, I'd say like before like 2 years ago, 2, 3 years ago, I had been in this cycle of just doing things. And so I love having this like reminder and let me just say, Lauren, I love the fact that there are when we really like look back to all of the rituals and festivals and things that are out here from before, it really allows us to stay in cycle with the seasons. And Imbolc is just like that, like you said, like that halfway point, right? I when I looked it up a long time ago, if I forgive me if I don't say this correctly, but Imbolc, the meaning of it is in the belly of the mother.
mm,
And I thought that was so beautiful because, we are in this like time of just waiting, to like kind of come out of our homes, to kind of like be able to just open up and flourish. And so right now we're just essentially like cooking. We're like cooking in our little homes and we're like
mhm,
getting our time together for this rebirth season. And so for me, my word is intention. And as I continue to go through these cycles, I will be coming back to that word and asking myself, am I being intentional with the things that I do, the things that I'm saying yes to, the relationships that I'm trying to foster? So yeah, Lauren, what about you? What is your word and how have
mm.
you felt about it and now getting this chance to reaffirm?
Well, first of all, I love your word, and I think it's so important to be intentional. You're kind of taking control or taking reins of your life and being really present too. Um, my word is magic or magical.
I love that.
Yes, I have like thought of so many different words of the year. I'm like vulnerability, authenticity, but I was like, what do I really want? And that's magic, and that's seeing magic like in everyday situations. And it's also um, doing everything I can to manifest the life I want and love, but also leaving space for the universe and for nature to do its thing. And it's also like recognizing that things come in their own time. And there's so much magic in that. And I mean, it's easy to just like be totally science-based, like, oh, well, spring is coming because this and that. This is why the leaves grow, etc. But there is like this like beautiful magic and like spirit in nature. So I think like seeing that and like expecting it this year, that's where I'm at. And there are a couple different ways. One, I'll talk about this more, I'm sure, as time goes on, but I have a book coming out in November, and it takes a lot of work to do that, but there's also like a lot of magic around it. I want to see like who it reaches and touches and what kind of impact it might have for people. Um, I also want to like I put on my vision board this year an invitation because something that's been a pattern like in my career is I've worked really hard for like everything that I've had, and I've really like initiated most things that I have. I've created the space to flourish within. And this year I really want to be like invited to other spaces too. So that's something that I'm putting out there, and that requires some magic because I have to like wait for someone to invite me, basically. I'm also putting it out there right now. So like if you're listening to this, maybe invite me to do something. I don't know. But I think there's this magic in like the co-creation that I'm not like totally aware of yet.
I love that. One, like when you said wait for that invitation, my mind immediately went to like what energy type that speaks
Hmm.
to. And that's, definitely like the projector. And
Hmm.
so the great thing about that is the invitations will come, it's that like waiting. And correct me if I'm wrong, you are a generator,
I
correct?
am, yeah,
So
in
you're
human
used
design.
to like having that energy to like do those things. And so I cannot wait to see one, what invitations come for you this year, but also like how it was for you, really tapping into this part of, a different energy type and
Mhm.
waiting, really feeling out their strategy. That's really cool, Lauren. I like that a lot. I feel like that is really needed too, because we're so used to being told, go get what you want, go get what you want, go get what you want. And really looking for that magic to happen of someone coming to you or opportunities coming to you. And that is true magic because you're literally putting that out into the universe and it will appear. It's going to appear. And I cannot wait to see what kind of beautiful things come from this.
Thank you. We shall see.
Yeah. Oh, you know me. I love speaking things already happening into the universe. I just can't. When you when you told me about the book, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. I love it already. It's happened. It's happened.
Thank you. Yeah, and with that alone, like I did so much visualization work around it and stuff. And not everything happened exactly like how I visualized it, as far as like who my exact publisher was, etc. But it all worked out the way that it was supposed to and unfolded. And um, for me, it's really hard to be in that like faith space sometimes, or that surrender space. So I think I'm willingly putting myself there a little bit more this year, and want to surrender more to the unknown.
Yeah, I love that. Before we moved on, I kind of wanted to talk about the word thing. Like, believe it or not, like 4 years ago, I had no idea this was a thing. Like, choose a word for the year. I had like no, I didn't. I was like, what? When I first heard it, I was like, what do you mean choose a word? But now that I have been doing this for, I think, the past 4 years now, it's been one of those things. It's like you can choose a word and then forget about it. And so nothing is going to happen from it, right?
Hmm.
But when you decide to choose this word, you are choosing to embody this thing. So for those of you who are like, oh, I choose a word every year and I don't see anything from it, like maybe try a different approach. Like sit with the feeling of this word. Like what is your intention with this word? How do you want this word to like play out for you this year? And actually take this time now, I think it's going to be February 1st. February 1st, take this time to like reaffirm that word and also see if it still resonates with you.
Hmm.
We came off of that Mercury and Mars retrograde on the 21st, right? And we're supposed to have this reset. So let this, moment be another reset for you to really tap into this word, this what you're trying to call in for 2023.
Absolutely. And I'll also say it's fine to change it. I'm a yoga teacher. We set an intention before every single yoga class, and it's not the same every day, or it doesn't have to be. And it's totally fine to change things up if you're finding that something else is more in alignment. And that's part of the reason we're doing these oracle readings every single month, because we want to tap into the energy of what's to come and acknowledge like the shifts and changes that happen throughout the year. So
Absolutely.
that's what we're going to do today. We'll go into 4 different cards and hopefully give you some really beautiful information to start your month and in a really intentional way.
Yes, I'm excited. I love tapping into our intuition. And again, I know Lauren has spoke to this before, but you don't need the cards. You don't
Mhm.
need them, but they're so fun and we love doing it. And we love doing it together and with you guys. So this is where we get to play, and I'm all about playing. So
Yes.
I am going to start us off today. And the first deck that I chose is simply messages of affirmation. It's called Eventide. It's from one of my favorite companies, Threads of Fate. I have a few of their decks and more than a few of their decks. And I just kind of want to give us an affirmation for this month. And maybe, going forward, I might do this because I always love a good affirmation. So I am simply just shuffling my cards, and I'm going to take a moment here and tune into the energy of February, tune into what Spirit is wanting us to hear for this month. I put three piles in front of me, and the number 2 came up. And it's this really cool looking blocky card. Some iridescence on that. And the affirmation is, I am dedicated to speaking up for myself. So, okay, maybe what this is feeling like for me is coming out of these holiday times and really sitting into this stillness after the new year and kind of getting back into the flow of what the new year means. We might be trying to what's coming to mind is playing it safe, like being quiet, like we are being inward right now. And maybe we are taking that time to be inward as a literal sense of shutting down. And we need to like speak our truth, speak up for ourselves in a way that is supportive and aligned for what we want going forward into the future. Um, I am dedicated to speaking up for myself. Maybe there are times that will come up that we have the opportunity to speak our truth and to say the things that we want. And now is the time to be dedicated to yourself in order to say what it is you want. Lauren, I'm not getting too much else from this. What's coming up for you with this affirmation?
So what this brought up for me immediately was earlier you talking about speaking your desires into existence. I think a lot of times, especially as like feminine people, we'll shrink ourselves, we'll be
Mm,
extra accommodating to everyone else, especially those of us who are nurturers. We put everyone else before ourselves. And I think this is an invitation to bring your voice to the table and know that it is just as important as everyone else's voices, and that there is magic in you speaking your truth. I think of the word like spell, like you're casting a spell. You do that
mm.
with your voice. You do that with like the magic of your words. And how dare you withhold that from from existence?
Yes. Oh, I love how you look at that, Lauren. That is so true.
Like, why do you have the audacity to keep that all to yourself? You can
Yeah.
use your voice and your truth to like co-create a more truthful, authentic, beautiful world. And it's time to start doing that. And I think you can tap into what that even is by tapping into your desires.
Mm,
What do you desire for yourself? What do you desire for your family? What do you desire for your career, your relationships? What do you desire for the world? Really tap into that and then figure out a way to share it. That might be starting by journaling. That might be conversations with friends. It might be posts on social media. There are so many different ways to start to tap in and explore bringing your desires from the inside to the outside. And you have this magical box, a voice box in your body. And as humans, we have the beautiful like privilege of language. So we get to wield that tool in creating whatever needs to come into existence this month and this year. What does that bring up for you?
Yeah, no, that really spoke to me, especially when you were just talking about, the desires and speaking that. For me, it landed a little differently, but when you said that, it kind of just brought me back full circle to even this time that we're in, Imbolc, really getting clear on our desires. This is the time that we are within to get clear. And then, having the energy of maybe speaking that out, we're planting those seeds, speaking that out of what we want so we can see them blossom and bloom into whatever it is our desiring, we are desiring. So
Mhm.
I really love that take on this affirmation. So this is really, really good. I am dedicated to speaking up for myself.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what also comes to mind is not being like a passive participant in your life. Like this is the time to show up and speak up so that you truly can live in your wholeness and authenticity and create the life that you desire.
Yeah, I feel that so much. And that's part of the reason for me why my word is intention, not being a bystander in my life, something that was pulling on me a while ago, Lauren, when I was really thinking about my word was the fact that, and as a mom, you have pictures of your children. We are always the one taking the picture, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I read something, it was like, be the main character in your story. And I had to think about it. Like, am I my main character? Am I the main character in my own story, or am I putting everyone else before me? And when I look back at my camera roll or my husband's camera roll or whomever, there aren't, and not that it's the pictures, right? But that's just like a way I can like comprehend this. Like, I am not in a lot of them unless I am taking them myself. And that's
Mhm.
fine, but I usually only take pictures of myself when I'm with my children. So I am wanting to be intentional about my life and cultivating myself as the main character in my own story. And part of that for me is, getting a little uncomfortable and photographing myself more. I don't do that often.
Mhm.
It's just not something that I think about. But, it's one way for me to be intentional about, yo, this is your time to shine. Like, this is who you are. This is your life. Like, get in front of the camera. Let's go. Let's do this photo shoot in the woods or something. I don't know, right? Whatever, whatever comes up, comes up. But yeah, I that's what I'm thinking about too, is really, and that's in a way is speaking up for myself. So
Yeah. And to put this into like relationship terms too, it's like not only taking your own picture, but handing the camera to your partner and saying, "Hey, will you take a picture?"
yeah.
Because I think oftentimes, for those of us in relationships, we expect our partners to read our minds, but that's what your voice is for.
Yes. And I do need to speak up for myself. I love my husband. He definitely, if I do ever say, "Hey, take a picture," he will totally take the picture. And again, it's usually just with me and the kids. But, maybe it's just one of those times, we're committed to having date night again.
Hmm.
And it's, that's the time where I'm like, "All right, kiddo, like, let's go." Like, I call him kiddo because of our age difference and he loves it. But um let's go, right? So
Hmm.
speaking up for myself, I love the feeling of this affirmation because they can take on so many different forms. And, being dedicated to oneself, like, what is more powerful than that?
Yeah, and one last thing is if you are not being precise in your language or what you're asking for, it's like putting a bad spell out into the world. Your love spell is not going to work if you aren't communicating exactly as you need to. So keep that in mind. Your words are really powerful. Hey, besties. I hope you're enjoying this incredible episode. I wanted to pop in and invite you to Speak Full Moon Goddess Ceremony that I'll be leading on Sunday, February 5th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. CST on Zoom. Speak Full Moon Goddess Ceremony is a sacred gathering to honor and celebrate the divine feminine. You'll have an opportunity to connect with your own inner goddess and the energy of the full moon. And the ceremony will include guided meditations by me, rituals, and practices to honor the goddess within and without. This is a space for feminines to come together in sisterhood and tap into the powerful energy of the full moon. This is a pay what you can online event. The suggested donation is $11, and you can bring a journal and create a cozy atmosphere in your home so that you can settle in and connect with your sisters. You can find more details and sign up at laurenleduc.com, LaurenLeduc.com. I cannot wait to see you there. So I'm going to go into the next card, and I love looking into the goddess energy of each month. I'm using a different deck than last time. This is Gemma's favorite deck, actually. It's Legendary Ladies Goddess Deck by Ann Shen, and I think she loves this deck because they all look like beautiful,
Princesses.
multicultural Disney princesses. Yes.
Yes.
She's gonna have like all of these memorized by the time she's 3, I think.
I love that.
So I am shuffling the cards and I will see what jumps out. And this one does Gaia, connection to nature. Yes. So Gaia is Mother Earth. I will look at the short reading in the booklet.
There are my cards. I heard that.
My cards. You want your cards? Okay, here's your cards. Okay, Gaia is connection to nature, and she's of Greek origin. Mother of all living things on earth, Gaia appears before you as a sign to return to nature. You need to get grounded by reconnecting with the earth. Try planting your feet on the natural ground, going on a hike, or taking a forest bath. Go back to Mother Earth for the answers you are seeking. So this seems like such an appropriate card for Imbolc. We're here in midwinter. I know a lot of people here in Kansas City, like, just don't go outside in the winter. They get in their cars, they drive to wherever they're going, walk through the parking lot, and that's pretty much like the bulk of their outdoor time or their nature connecting time this time of year. So just a reminder that there's no bad weather, there's only bad clothing. So maybe it's time to layer up, put on your hiking shoes, and even if it's just 10 minutes a day, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, or maybe you can build up more than that, that time in nature is vital to our health, to our mental health, emotional health, physical health. We are meant to connect with nature every single day. I think the more we disconnect, the more we like focus in on screens, the more we sit and don't move, the less we feel connected to ourselves, to our purpose, to our true nature. And that feeling of being out of alignment is so uncomfy. And it can feel like a lot to like go from that sedentary place to, I don't know, finding the momentum or the energy to make the shift of taking that time outside, but it is so worth it. You will not regret it. What is this bringing up for you?
Yeah, when you first started saying, when Gaia popped up, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, definitely a much needed reminder. And in my mind, I was like, okay, so how do we get out, in this weather when we feel like we just want to stay inside? And you spoke to that beautifully when you were like, you know what, there's no bad weather. There is, bad choice in clothing. Which is so true. It takes me back to a time where I went on a hike with a friend, back when I think it was a little bit after I had Maciana. when I shouldn't have been doing a 3 mile up a mountain hike yet, but I did it and committed. And there was some waterfalls and there was a little pool, like really shallow. And she was like, Rashida, you can take your shoes off and step in the water. And I was like, girl, it is like 30 degrees out here. Why would I do that? But I did it anyway. And yes, it was cold. And it wasn't quite 30 degrees because the water was not frozen, but it was cold. But there was something refreshing and grounding. And yes, a bit jarring about that. And that just brought me back to the place between this card and that memory that came up is we get to decide how we interact with Mother Nature. And if we are the ones that are just hopping in our car where it's comfy and warm, getting out on a concrete jungle into a building, that really isn't true connection besides the lungs that we're bringing into the air that we're bringing into our lungs. And in turn, like we still aren't even getting that natural air because we're in our cars for most of the time. And so what's coming up for me is just making those moments in time where we are intentionally trying to just ground. If there's snow on the ground, maybe we don't step outside and get our bare feet on the ground, right? Unless you're into that. Me personally, I'm not, but I will go out there and look at the crystals on the trees and look at the snow and just, breathe. I mean, just breathe in the air of the snow. Like, really, just being mindful about this time is a way to connect as well. So, this is such a great reminder to do those little things, like not just look from outside. I know before I would like send Maciana out and be like, girl, you have fun in the snow. But now, like, really being intentional and, stepping out there with her. And if I can only last for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, then great. But at least I am really connecting to the cycles of the earth because this is needed. This is part of it. This is a reminder that we are still, in a way, a little bit dormant and cold, and the days are shorter, but there is beauty in that, really seeking that beauty that is around us in this time where we have this mentality of, we don't need to be out. We need to stay
Mhm.
within. So,
I think so. I think like sometimes too, for those of us who are into following the cycles of nature, that winter can almost be an excuse to not do anything or to
mm,
like sink into a couch depression or something like that. Like, oh, the bears are hibernating, so this is what I'm gonna do. But I think like going back to uh that grounding feeling, grounding doesn't mean like complete stagnancy, but it means like security. It might mean slowing down. It means that you're nurtured and held. So, like, how can you nurture yourself with beautiful food from Mother Earth right now? How can
mhm.
you move your beautiful body that Mother Earth gave you? Um, how can you do it in a really sustainable way too? So, we're coming off of January, and a lot of people feel really motivated in January to like eat really good and exercise every day. And then we get to February and it's like, F it, February. We're like, maybe we can swing in the opposite direction. But this is also bringing up for me like connecting with cycles, connecting with nature in a really sustainable, nourishing, and wholesome way. Um, Taking care of yourself as a part of nature, with nature.
And being practical, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is not having this big idea to like, I got to get out here and I got to do this. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I probably will, if it's a foot or more snow on the ground, I will probably only go out because Macy wants to go out.
Mm-hmm.
But what is practical for me? What's practical for me is, going out on my deck, right? Connecting
Mm-hmm.
with the sunshine
Mm-hmm.
and maybe covering up a chair so that when I get out there I have a place to sit and maybe meditate with this you know crisp air that's going to hit my lungs. So being very practical in the things that we set for ourselves. I know, coming like you said, coming off of January where we get really motivated and have all these expectations for ourselves, but kind of honing those down and saying, what can I really do?
Mm-hmm.
And, this is calling for us to, remember that we do need to stay connected, but in a practical way. Like, what does it really look like for you?
Mm-hmm.
If a hike every day is not realistic, then what is?
Yeah,
So
totally. I want to bring up one more thing. Connected to Imbolc is that I forget what you said the definition was or the translation of like being in the womb space.
yeah, you're in the belly of the mother.
The belly of the mother. Yeah, I think about like being pregnant and kind of treating yourself as a queen,
Mhm.
when you're pregnant. And I think like something really like lit up for me when I was pregnant with Gemma and I was like taking excellent care of myself because she was inside of me. I'm like, wow, this is what Mother Nature does for us. And I'm also like, why can't I do this for myself all the time?
Mm,
So maybe this is also an invitation to treat yourself like a queen, to nourish yourself as though you had another life inside of you, and to be like to embody Gaia.
yeah, I love that. When you, like, as soon as you said that, I was like, I don't have that extra time where I'm actually out in nature. So what am I doing with that time? Not just filling it out with more episodes of whatever, right? But maybe take that time to do that self massage that I did pre-kids, right?
Mhm.
And finding those extra moments too. Yeah, Lauren, I love that. Treat yourself like a queen, really work on your skin. The winter, sometimes dries us out, and that's totally fine. What are we doing to counteract that? What are the foods that we're putting in our body to counteract what's going on?
Mm,
So I love that reflection.
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I am next with my deck, and I have been trying to decide. And you know what? I am just going to do it. I recently got a new deck. It's called the Energy Archeology Oracle Deck by Ashley Stinson, and I really love the artwork on this. She is connecting with the bones of the body, and I am a body worker by trade, so I really love this deck, this tangible wisdom. So, and Lauren, I know you love the body as well, so.
Yes.
Let's just do it. I haven't worked too much with it, so bear with me. But okay, two again is coming up. Let's see what the energy archaeology has for us for February. So the card that came up is called Expectation. It is the maxilla and temporal, so our skull.
Mhm.
All right, so I am going to pull up what it says. And this artwork is really, really cool. I encourage you to go on our Insta and check it out. So, expectation. You can become stuck in expectation, but remember, there is no such thing as a block, only something you're not yet willing to allow.
Mm.
Okay. So, I am going to go into the anatomy real quick. So, here's a lesson today. The maxilla is the bone of the upper jaw, consisting of two irregular bones that fuse below the nose. It forms the upper jaw, hard palate, lower eye sockets, and sinuses. The temporal bone contains the middle and inner portions of the ear, articulates with the mandible, and creates the lower side walls of the skull. The maxilla and temporal bones are the earth element bones of the skull. When in alignment, they ground and stabilize the cranial and facial energy pathways. When out of balance, they can store unsupported frequencies, which lends embodied meaning to being between a rock and a hard place. Then temporal bone primarily stores energies from the cranium, affecting the cranial energetic pathway and grounding your identity, dreaming, and inspiration. The maxilla primarily stores energies from the orbital sockets and mandible, affecting the frequencies of informing, visiting, and allowing. So expectation can feel stabilizing. It creates an argument both energetically and logically that since something has occurred before, it will likely happen again. A pattern will repeat. A behavior can be anticipated. Familiar actions will bring familiar results. Expectation carves rules into the earth element, and expects them to stay as they are. It pleads for stability over innovation, denounces what is unknown. It demands that your life look this way as it always has. Whispers that you cannot change your vision or dream bigger because you have no foundation on which to build. You can only allow what you have known before, what is safe, that dreams are silly, inspiration is foolish. After all, how can you trust something with no historical precedent for a result? So it is saying you can become stuck in expectation. But remember, energy is always flowing. There is no such thing as a block, only something that you're not yet willing to allow. Change your vision, walk a new route, have new conversations, take a risk on that idea, follow your dream. Sometimes a small movement is all you need to create flow from stagnancy. The Grand Canyon is proof enough of this. A single drip over enough time can release the illusion of solidity. Release the illusion of expectation and see what opens to you. So that was a lot. But I feel like when this card was speaking to me and it was just saying about expectation, it reminded me of what we were just talking about, Lauren, how we are in this time frame of new beginnings, right? Well, we had just stepped out of that in January. Now we're in this time frame of, are we slipping back into our old habits? And for me, what's coming up with this card is it is saying that we can be quote unquote stuck because we are expecting to do the same thing that we've done the year before. So if we are that person who always makes resolutions or intentions and we have so many things going on, but we find ourselves at the end of the year and no needle has been moved towards that, we are expecting the same result. And so I think about the energy of what she talked about with the bones and the mandala, you do have movement in the jaw area, but it's not a whole lot of movement. And so having the little bit of movement, taking those little bit of steps towards your dreams or towards this new reality that you're creating for yourself or these intentions that you set, it doesn't take a lot. It does not have to be an all or nothing, just the little things. And again, the mandala is part of our jaw, speaking, using these areas of our body to really tap into the things that we are desiring and bringing those into existence. So I feel like this is kind of like a well-rounded card for what we're supposed to be tuning into for February. So don't really be stuck in the expectation of you will be doing the same thing you've done before. If anything, really expect the magic that's about to happen in your life through the small movements that we can take and the small actions that we can take to create this life that we're living and we're trying to live and bring into fruition for ourselves. That was a lot. What came up for you, Lauren?
Yeah, that's such a beautiful card, and I love your interpretation of it. I have a lot of thoughts coming up, so I want to see how they solidify, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
One is I'm seeing a theme with the cards already of two major chakras. So one is the root. So that's going into nature, that's going into nourishment, nurturing, stability. Also with nature, there's this, yes, we can expect the flowers to bloom, but we can also expect the unexpected at times. Like you were saying, it's February, it could be 75 degrees, it could be 20, we don't know. And then the throat chakra, obviously, and this particular part of the body is under rulership of that. Something that came up while you're reading the card for me is the suggestion, and I think this is for everyone all the time, to soften your jaw.
Mm-hmm.
For so many of us, we get really locked up and tight in that area. We clench the teeth. And that to me suggests rigidity. a lot of tension in the body. I think stagnancy in a way, and blocking allowing and surrender. So something most yoga teachers will say, like at the beginning of a class while we're grounding and scanning the body, is to soften the jaw, maybe to swallow, to relax the throat. And there's something that happens when you relax the jaw where suddenly your whole facial structure relaxes. You can
Mm-hmm.
breathe in a much more fluid and expansive way. And you're letting the body know, like, it's safe to let go a little bit and to allow whatever is going to happen, to allow this is a safe space for that. So I guess whatever the uh, energetic or metaphorical equivalent of soften your jaw is what I think this month is asking of us. And it's not to like let go completely. We're not talking about a full shavasana right now.
Right.
We're talking about letting go of some tension and allowing. And yeah, we can't use our voice fully if it's full of tension. It's not going to reflect the truth. It's going to reflect a reality that is one that we're trying to control.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how you said that. Like, can we take that in for a second?
What did I just say?
Oh my gosh. Okay. You said that when we have that tension in our jaw and we're not really allowing and we're trying to control it, and what's coming out if we are speaking with this tension is a reality that we're trying to control, not what actually is. And it's not going to
Mm,
come across the true intention of what we're trying to say. It's going to come across as this controlled version of that. I mean, I said more words, but that's essentially what I got from what you said, and that's powerful.
Thank you. And we talked about this like surrender and allowing in our manifesting episode, where like when you are allowing, you are confronting yourself with reality,
Mm,
with the truth of this situation. And then you're opening yourself to the magic in reality. When you are trying to over control, you aren't seeing things for what they are. You're seeing things for your expectations, and for what you're trying to control. And when you're able to let go, like there's so much fun and magic there. Like I'm thinking about parenting a toddler, for instance. Like I'm not going to allow her to do whatever she wants all the time because I have to keep her safe and I have to keep some routine going. But for the most part, you know, we're going to make a mess. We're going to like have meltdowns every day. I'm going to allow her to experience whatever she needs to experience. And if I try to over control, if I start getting tense, it's not going to be a good time for anybody.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's about like what can we allow? And where's the magic?
Yeah. I love how you took that there because, privately, I was sharing my experience with Macy and really sitting with that piece of not trying to control, not trying to yell, not trying to do the things that I grew up with, right? And I think the magical part about that whole experience is what comes out afterwards when you
Mm,
do allow these things to happen and you get to see like the lessons learned and not just in your children, right? Since we're speaking to that, but in yourself.
mhm,
So when you allow things to happen
mm.
and let go of the control a little bit, I think we all can be pleasantly surprised about what comes about from that.
Yeah, for sure. And I just had this visual of the clenching of the jaw and of like basically a throat chakra blockage, like you're damming
You're
that
you're cutting
area.
that off,
You're
yeah.
cutting it off, yeah, and you're not allowing the energy to flow through your whole system. So by like relaxing, by letting go, that's really going to open you up to be able to speak magic into the world, whatever that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I love that. It makes me want to like share a simple little massage tip I think I might do
Please.
that. Oh, okay, now? Okay, I could do
Yeah.
that. If
Yeah.
you are not driving, so please don't do this when you're driving,
Mhm.
but you can take your two fingers, your index and your middle finger, and bring it to your jaw and just kind of like open and close your mouth a little bit. You'll kind of feel like that muscle moving and that joint moving. And as you just open and close your mouth, work your fingers in like a circular motion. You can open your mouth up wide, making an O. Feel free to bring your fingers a little bit forward. This is your temporal mandibular joint area. And this area never really gets a lot of love. Even if you are getting massages, if you book an hour massage, please book like an hour and a half or 2 hours. So you can just have some love to these tiny little spaces that need so much work. Sometimes if you rub your fingers over it, you might feel it jumping. And feel free to like dig in. You're not going to hurt yourself. Like, don't like damage yourself, but like give yourself a little bit of pressure. Move up maybe a little bit towards your ear. And just feel these muscles all around this joint area. Just take a nice deep breath in and release. And just see how much opening came from that simple little massage in this area. So if you're ever feeling like you're stuck, you don't know what to say, you're, just really tight and rigid, just come back here with your two fingers and come into your jaw and just give it a little bit of love, circular motion, a little bit of pressure, even up into there. And
Yeah.
it can help release some things and get some energy moving.
Thanks so much for doing that. I'm not gonna lie, it hurt a little bit, but now it feels really good and I can feel like the tension releasing. Um, yeah, please share any tips with us anytime that you have them, because we've gotta like figure out how to release the tension. We can talk all we want about speaking your truth and opening your throat chakra and blah blah blah, but like these embodiment practices are really
Yeah.
important.
Absolutely. And I will. I thank you for inviting me to do that. And I am so I think it's so important that we do learn these little things to do with our bodies because we are in this body.
Yes.
We're in this body and we do have to care for it.
Hmm.
So I might do a video for us too. So if someone was driving, they can see it. But
Yeah, it was like, I think I'm going to put that one on our Instagram just so everyone can see us with our mouths open,
okay,
massaging
it'll
our jaws.
look a little funny there, but you'll get it.
I love it.
Awesome. Yeah,
All
I
right.
love this card. Yeah, I cannot wait. What are you closing us out with, Lauren?
So, got to shout out our girl, Sahara Rose. So,
Yeah, whoop whoop.
yeah, today I am choosing a card from her Yogic Path Oracle Deck.
I love this deck.
Yeah, and the question that came to mind to use for the deck today is, how can I be of service this month? Which I think is a good question, especially since we've been talking about a lot of self-focus. It's good to balance that out, right? With the service. So I'm going to shuffle the cards.
Yeah.
And sometimes I pick from a pile, sometimes one just like jumps out at me visually. And I just go with whatever comes. All right. So I know a lot of different gods and goddesses, but I do not know how to pronounce this one. So I'll try my best. Bhuvaneshvari. Bhuvaneshvari. And I have to say, like, out of all the times I've used this deck, I'm not sure I have ever pulled this particular card before, so I'm really interested.
Yeah, I've never pulled that card either.
Okay, here we go. Goddess of space and infinite possibilities. You have learned the art of creating space and are experiencing the cosmos that exist inside of you. Bhuvaneshvari comes to you in deep meditation, in profound nature, in oceans, and in silence. Her stillness guides you to enter deeper into the cosmic web of potentials that exist for you in the present moment. Continue making time for whatever brings you to a point of stillness. That is where your true self resides. Know that you are not just part of the earth, but the earth is also a part of you, and you are lovingly held by her presence. Mm. So what this is bring up for me, and one, like, how well does it tie into absolutely everything that we've been talking about today? But especially in terms of how to be of service this month is deep listening.
Yeah. And that totally came up for me too.
Because we talk about speaking our truth, but it's not going to be complete or potent if we're not listening as well. They need to happen hand in hand.
Simultaneously, yeah.
And when we're listening in an active way, we are taking our personal judgment and perception out of it, and instead trying to exist as like the observer or our highest selves, that part of us which is divine, right? So my advice would be to, one, see everyone as a part of nature, which is what the card says, right? And also, as Ram Dass says, treat everyone like God in drag. So if God is talking to you or Goddess is talking to you, how are you going to listen to that? Are you going to formulate your own response or rebuttal in your head the whole time? Or are you going to take it in? Are you going to listen to it as as a meditation, as an incantation, as a mantra? How can you more deeply listen, not only to other people in your life, but to nature? So maybe you're going out on that hike without your AirPods in, although we want you to listen to us, of course. Take some time in silence too and see what comes, because that's going to give you all of the information you need as to like your dharma and how to be of service to the world. It comes in that space and in that deep listening. What does it bring up for you, Rashida?
Yeah, everything that you said, when you think about how we can be of service to our communities to humanity, and the listening piece really hit home and came up for me because before training, coaching training, I was a good listener. However, like you spoke to, Lauren, there's something different about what people call active listening. And when you learn to actively listen to the people in your community, to the circles that you're in, and really just like hear what people are saying, you really start to see them. You really start to see things through their words that you would not have gotten if you were just formulating that response. Oh, she said this, let me say this. And I know for me, I had a hard time with like letting that go because I thought everything I had to say back was important. But when we come back to the place of service, it really isn't what I have to say. It's what people, our community, what's being said to us, and allowing us to like really see people for who they are, because honestly, people just want to be seen and heard. And sometimes, yes, the words that you can say, the response that you give is insightful and can be meaningful. But if we take this time, really, this space that we're in, we're drawn to being inward, allowing other people to speak up and speak out, and actually us taking in and seeing them is going to open up so many more opportunities for them. It's going to allow them to reflect more, because then they're not sitting with, oh, they said this to me, now we need to say this back. It's not this like shallow exchange. So really being able to like sit and hear allows the other person to be seen. and allows that person to open up even more, not only in front of you, but themselves as well. So that's what came up for me.
Yeah, I love that insight. And I'll add that I don't think most people are very good at communicating in like an authentic and true way. That's not how we're socialized or brought up. Even the people who you know who are like really outspoken, even to a point of maybe being kind of brash sometimes, what they are saying isn't always revealing like what's underneath that, like what's the real emotion? Where is that really coming from?
Mhm.
Why are they hurt? You know, um, that isn't always communicated with words. And I think it's important, one, in a world where everyone really is very used to communicating via text now, whether it's text messaging or social media, we don't always get to like see the body language, see their expression, feel their energy, and know like what's underneath the communication. Um, so I think giving people the benefit of the doubt sometimes, especially in that format, is important. And then when you're actively listening to someone, whether it be in person or on Zoom or something like that, really like immersing yourself in the entire experience of the communication is so important. So seeing the body language, hearing the tone of voice,
Mhm.
feeling the energy, and then like really holding space for that, you're going to get so much more out of that than like surface level conversation.
And I'll say, like, when you start this practice of really listening to somebody, it may be a little uncomfortable
Mm,
because it kind of forces you to be a bit vulnerable too. But there's this like energy shift. There's like this change. There's something palpable about somebody really being able to like tune in and tap into what is being said. And remember, like, we're all energy. And yes, we communicate with words, but being able to tap into the energy of active listening and hearing and seeing somebody truly for who they are, you are communicating in that way as well, even
mm,
without words. So it might feel a little odd and a little different. And you might get in this mindset of, oh, I need to say this. But when you hear that, like Lauren said, you are that observer. Calm that down, tamp that down. And there's something so beautiful about being seen, being on the other end of that. I know we're talking as if, you're the one listening, but when you actually sit in front of someone who is really listening to you,
mm,
you just feel so like seen. And it's just something that is not experienced in our day to day. I mean, hell, Lauren, like how often do people like actually look at you in your eyes when you're talking nowadays, right?
mm,
And I know it's because of our culture and it's where we are, but like, let's really start like how we give you service now, especially now that we're all indoors, right? When you do have that human contact or you are on Zoom, like really look at somebody, like really see them for who they are.
mm. And what a gift. And, it's February, it's Valentine's month. Whether or not you have a special person or people in your life, what a gift to give to really listen to somebody and have like, it doesn't need to be quote unquote like sacred conversation. It doesn't need to be all spiritual or anything like that. It just has to be real. And
Mm.
whatever someone's talking about, what would it be like to sit and like really take them in and give them that gift? Um, you know, chocolates are great and roses are beautiful. But excellent communication is the gift that keeps on giving, right? And it's what deepens relationships and builds intimacy, really more than anything else. I was talking to my husband about this last night. I feel like so much of what we were talking about is like coming up in this conversation today, which is really interesting. Um, but he works a lot. He has a busy restaurant and he has a lot of guilt for not spending as much time with us. But I keep telling him like it is it's about the quality of the time, not the quantity. Like if you're spending more time with us, but you're constantly distracted or constantly stressed and like your mind is on work or elsewhere, like that's not potent and that's not really like moving our relationship forward. Like I'd rather spend half the time with you and it be of high quality. And for you to be in like a happy, healthy place. So I know for me, like that's what I really value in relationships, and that's what I want out of relationship too, is to be seen and to be heard and to build that intimacy and connection and understanding. Because then you're on the same team.
Absolutely. I agree with everything you just said. And I told Daniel about this a while ago when we were working on our relationship. I said, you know, you don't have to buy me anything at these holidays, and we don't have to go out. Like, yes, I love going out. I love doing all the things, but honestly, if we can get the kid, at the time it was the one kid, if we can get the kid down and we can sit in our room by candlelight and like eye gaze for a little bit and pet on each other a little bit and like just have like open discussion, like where we're really hearing what we're saying, you know, what each other are saying and how we're feeling, like I'll take that any day over the things, you know. That is what's going to be most needed for our relationship, especially as new parents, when we don't have the time to do all the things that we used to do. So
Yeah, it's super nourishing to have that time together, and whether it's with a partner or friend or your child or, you know, whoever, what a gift you can give.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Lauren, this was amazing. I really love what February has in store for us and how it all tied together. I just think it's amazing how all these things like still tie into each other.
Yeah.
And a lot of reflecting and getting back in nature and really seeing how we can just release and allow, and you know, really dedicating ourselves to ourselves as well. So thank you so much for your time today, for seeing me and hearing me. I appreciate everyone listening and being a part of this journey that we have. This is amazing for us, and our deepest desire and hope that it's amazing for you and spark conversations in your life with your people. Don't forget to come be our bestie out on Instagram, and let's have a conversation around this and what came up for you when these cards were pulled.
Yeah, and thank you, Rashida. Thanks for your intuitive insights and for your wisdom and for being present and holding space with me. We aren't showing all the video from these podcasts, but like most of the time I have my daughter with me, and Rashida is always super patient with me, nursing her and like keeping her busy while we're having these conversations. And it's such a gift to be able to just show up exactly as I am that day and as she is that day, and to still have beautiful conversations together while life is happening.
Absolutely. And that's how we're meant to live. Like it all happens at the same time as we're playing peekaboo with Gemma.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope that you have a really beautiful February and that you allow some magic to flow in, because it's coming and it's here. All you have to do is be open to it.
Bye, bestie.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for this incredible episode. If you loved it, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and tell all your besties about us.
You can also connect with us on Instagram at Your Spiritual Besties Podcast, and be sure to say hello and share your thoughts about the episode. Love you, bestie. Talk soon.